Factsverse presents 20 Telltale Signs That You've Served Time in the Military. When a person's in the military, they go through a great deal of training. During this time, they develop mannerisms and other telltale signs, and these are very noticeable by other veterans, and some also to the people in the public. Here are 20 telltale signs that you've served time in the military. Any floor can be a bed. Soldiers don't always have a bed to sleep on. During training or a tour of duty, it's not uncommon for them to sleep on the ground for several nights. If you notice somebody lying comfortably on the floor or the ground, there's a good chance that they've had experience doing that in the military. A master at ironing. Military personnel are required to wear wrinkle-free clothing. That means soldiers need to iron their uniforms and get good at it. If you see somebody who can put creases in their clothes with ease, they were likely in the military. Distinctive gait. If you know someone who always walks swiftly with a purpose, there's a good chance that they have a military background, because there is no room for slackers in the military. If you're going to get through battle, you need to keep up. Using military time. If you ask a civilian what time it is, they'll tell you something like, "Oh, it's 11 o'clock p.m." If you ask a civilian what time it is, they'll tell you, "Oh, it's 11 o'clock in the morning." If you ask somebody what time it is and they tell you that it's 1100 hours, that's a good chance that they've served in the military. Using military time, it can be a hard habit to break. At ease. In the military, you're told thousands of times to stand at ease. Former members of the military, they find themselves doing this after their service is complete. It's not because they don't know how to relax. It's because this is how they're used to relaxing. Sir or ma'am. Soldiers almost always refer to people as sir or ma'am, and that's a hard habit to break after being released from the Army. Pretty good habit to keep, though, don't you think? Always the first to finish eating. In the military, you're not allowed to have a long, leisurely meal. When soldiers eat, they're expected to eat as quickly as possible and then return to duty. After leaving the military, former soldiers still eat quickly. It's a habit that they've just grown into. Using military jargon. Most people don't use terms such as "copy that" or "negative" in everyday conversations. Former military members, though, they get so used to speaking that way that they just don't drop it when their service is ended. Foul language. Most soldiers swear a lot. When a soldier's time in the service has ended, they will often take this bad habit of foul language with them when they go back home. Salute to say hello. Soldiers salute thousands of times throughout their military career. When they have completed their service, they'll often continue that in civilian life. It's just second nature. After years of saluting all the time, it's not uncommon to continue that practice when the service is ended. They don't enjoy war movies. Movies like Saving Private Ryan, Black Hawk Down, and Pearl Harbor, they're among some of the greatest war movies of all time. But many former soldiers, they would rather not watch these films because they've already lived it. Most soldiers don't want to be reminded of their time on the front lines, and I can't say as I blame them. There is no such thing as an explanation. In the military, you never explain anything. Instead, you offer up a briefing. When many soldiers complete their service and come home, they continue to use the word briefing rather than explaining. Quick showers. You will probably never see a former soldier taking a shower 15 or 20 minutes. Soldiers just do not have much time to shower when they're in the military, especially in the field. After returning home, they continue to shower as quickly as possible because that's what they learned. Using the phonetic alphabet. Soldiers use the phonetic alphabet to avoid any confusion. Confusion results in disaster during war, so when soldiers come home, they'll often continue doing this out of habit. If you ask a former soldier to spell Army, they'll tell you not A-R-M-Y. They will tell you Alpha Romeo Mike Yankee. Buzz cuts. Male soldiers are required to have a military buzz cut at all times. When they return home, they're used to that cut and they'll often just stay with it. The kitchen is a mess. Now, this does not mean that former soldiers leave their kitchens a mess. What it means is that they call the kitchen a mess. Like the mess tent is where they get food in the military. It's just military jargon. So if you're calling your husband who used to be in the military down to breakfast, don't call them to the kitchen, call them to the mess. Using knife hands. Knife hands is the name of a gesture. It's a movement that is made with a flat palm and pointing all of your fingers and your thumb located to the side. It's a classic military signal. It's something that former soldiers continue doing even after their service has ended. Standing in line. Standing in line is pretty common in the military. It shows respect and discipline. Former soldiers will often stand in line silently, even in places like the bank or the grocery store. It's a behavior that has been embedded for so long that it sticks with them after returning home. Putting Tabasco on everything. The food served to soldiers often doesn't have much flavor, and it's usually dried out. Fortunately, they have access to Tabasco. Many soldiers will use that on their food when serving it, and it becomes such a regular part of meals they just continue using it when the service is ended. Clean shoes. Soldiers are taught to shine their boots regularly so that they always have a shine. Former soldiers usually continue with this habit, and they rarely ever wear a dirty pair of shoes. What other things do former military people do that you've noticed? Tell us in the comments below, and subscribe for more.